Hi, and welcome to Excel Heaven. This tutorial is the first in a series exploring the uses of subtotals in Excel. This introduction presents some of the benefits of using subtotals in preference to using sum, while other tutorials will look at additional aspects of this versatile function. Let's consider this spreadsheet. It shows the balances for a number of accounts by region by month. The initial requirement is to get a total by account. If I were to use sum to do this, I would sort the balances by account, go to the end of each account, insert a new row, and on the Home ribbon, use AutoSum for all the rows for each account. So far, so good. The first problem arises when I want to get the grand total. To do that, I need to use equals sum, and then scroll through the whole list, selecting each subtotal. In a relatively simple list like this, it is not too bad, but it is prone to error, and let's face it, it's not exactly elegant. Unfortunately, it's what many people do. The other option is to do sum on the whole column and divide by 2, but this technique presupposes that all the rows have been included in a subtotal somewhere, even single rows, which may not always be the case. Also, I wouldn't want to present 4 pages of data to someone when all they want is 4 or 5 lines. And what happens when they ask for the figures by region? This methodology is rigid and cumbersome, so what can I do instead? A structure like this is where subtotals come into their own. Let's look at the same problem using a subtotal approach. The first major benefit is that Excel will do most of the work for you. To insert subtotals, on the Data ribbon, under the Outline group, select Subtotal. The Subtotal dialog appears. This dialog allows you to do quite a lot, so let's go through it in detail. The first parameter is to select what you want to base the subtotal on. Clicking on the drop-down, you can see that any field in the range can be selected. Initially, I am going to select Account Name. Under the Use Function parameter, I have the option to calculate one of 11 possible figures. The most common would obviously be sum, but count, average, minimum and maximum can also be very handy. Let's go with sum. Under Add Subtotal To, I can select which field I want to total. I want the sum of the amount field, but at other times you may want to get the count of a text field. I finish by clicking OK. So let's see what has happened. If I scroll down to the end of the first account, you can see that Excel has automatically inserted a new row and included the subtotal function. But it has also added a heading of what the subtotal is based on. That's handy. Now let's look at the subtotal function itself. The first parameter reads 9. Where did that come from? You will recall that under the Use Function parameter in the Subtotal dialog, I had the option of calculating the sum, average, or count, etc. and I selected sum. Well, for 9, read sum. If I display the help for the function, you can see that if the functions are listed alphabetically, sum happens to be number 9. It's handy to remember this, as 9 is the one you are likely to use most often. The reference parameter is simply the column I am calculating, but Excel has been clever enough to analyze my data and only reference the rows associated with the particular account I am basing the subtotal on. The number of rows for each account doesn't have to be the same, and Excel will just do it. Brilliant! And it has done this for each account. And now for the icing on the cake, the grand total. If I look at the function used for the grand total, you can see that it is fundamentally the same as the others. The only difference is that it includes the whole range covered by the other subtotals. You will recall that when using sum, I had to pick the individual totals from the list, which was dangerous, but with subtotal you can highlight the whole range, and any subtotals included in the range are automatically ignored. Again, brilliant. This means that the spreadsheet is much easier to understand and audit. But that's not all. You may have noticed that when I selected subtotals, Excel inserted these buttons on the left of the spreadsheet. These are called outline levels, and they allow me to collapse the whole sheet down to only display a summarized version of the sheet. Clicking on level 1 shows only the grand total, which, admittedly, may be of limited use. But by selecting level 2, it shows the subtotals by account. Now we're getting somewhere. You will notice from the row numbers that some rows are hidden. So, clicking on level 3 displays all rows again. This means that while nothing is lost, if you are presenting the figures to someone, you can pitch it at the level the individual requires. Let's not stop there. Say within each account I need to show a further subtotal by region. No problem. Selecting Subtotal again, under At each change in, this time select Region. The sum of amount stay the same, but I have to deselect Replace Current Subtotals. I now have subtotals by region, and I also have an additional level in the outline. As before, going to level 2 displays the subtotals by account, but now level 3 displays regions within account. Better still, Excel has done all the work. You can in fact go up to 6 levels of subtotals. So you could subtotal by account, by region, by store, by salesperson, by date, by product, if you had that level of data. Let's take it a step further. Having produced our lovely report by account by region, someone now decides that they will prefer it by region by account instead. It is a sad fact that no matter how many ways you cut a report, someone will want to change. So rather than railing against it, just know how to manipulate your data to provide it. The first thing to do is to undo all our good work. Going back to our subtotal dialog, I can simply select Remove All, and I'm back to where I started. If I now select the Sort icon, I can sort by region, add level, and account. I want to keep the North, South, East, West convention going, so I'm going to cut the rows for East and insert them after South. Selecting the subtotal icon again, I can first select region and then by account name. I can dress it up a bit and I'm finished. In summary, in this tutorial we have looked at subtotaling and outline levels. We also resorted our data to meet different requirements. Please watch part 2 of this to see further benefits of using subtotals. Thank you for watching. I hope that this will save you a lot of time. Don't forget to subscribe to Excel Heaven for other tutorials.